All right, welcome back. We apologize for that break. I'm sure Reverend is now safe with the microphone. Yes, Reverend, I asked a question about the direct link between the proportional representation and democracy.
Yeah, I was making an appeal to say let's use the lens of our conscience to address the issues that we are looking at, because these are national issues.
Right.
And whatever we do today, it has the propensity or the potential to affect what will happen tomorrow in our country. So we want to look at the issues dispassionately and speak our minds, our consciences, to the effect that whatever we do now will be a befitting legacy for posterity. It's not just about us now. Because what I have understood about other nations, whatever they do, they look at it from the angle of what legacy do we bequeath to the upcoming generation. And as Sierra Leoneans, we must endeavor to think in that direction. And on the basis of my appeal, I now go to the question.
Right.
Of course, when we talk about democracy, a key feature of democracy is representative government. Because as it stands now, we cannot have everybody coming to one place to address national concerns or what is in fact politics, that is the administration of the city. All of us cannot come to one place. So it is now representative democracy. And a key element of it, in terms of that representative democracy, is to ensure that you give people the opportunity to be elected so that they get what we call entrance legitimacy. Because you have legitimacy from two perspectives, entrance and performance. But you cannot perform until you are given the entrance, and it is through elections. Over time, political scientists, they've devised various methods that can be employed, given the circumstances, the context of the country. They can decide, okay, we use first past the post. Or, like when we had a situation, we had a war situation, and we were trying to recover from that, we adopted the PR system, looking at the block district system in relation to that. Now, somebody might say to you, the situation has changed. So why do we go back to that approach in terms of giving entrance legitimacy to our politicians who are going to govern us? Somebody might ask that question. And somebody can also provide the answer to say, well, we think for a more inclusive situation, we need that kind of thing. But the question now is, in the context of our democracy, who do we answer to? Is it the people, or a subset of the people reflected in the political parties? Have we experienced a situation wherein our political parties have demonstrated to us that they can be answerable to the people? For me, my experience is that no, we've not had that. We've battled with the situation for a very long time, since '61, even before that when we started having political parties around. We've battled with that situation wherein we can have them to answer to the people. It would almost look like the moment you have people elected to positions of trust, the people don't matter anymore. We get to the people when it is 1 year, 6 months to elections because we want their support. And when we talk about democracy, the centrality of the people's participation is so important. And whatever it is that we are doing that will make it look like the people are not in charge, it is a question mark for democracy. Because if you take your time to look at the Constitution of Sierra Leone, what it says to us when we start talking about the fundamental principle of state policy, it is to say that sovereignty is with the people. And whoever is getting political power, it has to be through the agency of the people. So in the context of democracy, we cannot say per se that proportional representation is bad. But when you look at the other side of it, especially because there is now going to be a distance between the people and the political parties, those sitting in the secretariat, they might decide. But who knows? What is the concern of the people down there? Is it the people's, is that the people's will? That is why we must look for ways and means where, no matter what we adopt at the end of the day, it has to be authenticated by the people themselves. In other countries, they use primaries to ensure that the people are fully involved in whatever list that is going to be generated, even when they adopt the PR system. But we don't want a situation wherein it is now adopted and the people are left to second guess what is happening. Who is in charge? Who is our member of parliament? That is where democracy becomes a concern in terms of that approach.
Let me ask this question, Reverend. I know, as you, I mean, with the submission you've made, it is clear that if we are to go with the PR today, the PR system, that the power will be taken from the people.
That is the implication.
Right. Who are supposed to, I mean, in a democratic society, who are supposed to be, I mean, those who have the power.
They should determine who their leaders are.
So and so that will be taken. But also, I mean, there can also be, I mean, a very fine way to balance it.
Definitely, I was just making the point.
Right.
If we now have a situation wherein it is the people who determine the lists of the political parties and not the secretariat, then it can be a way to adjust the situation. But honestly, in our context, I doubt whether that will happen. And I was looking through the bill. Looking at section 57, it presents a picture that is different from, say, we want to go proportional representation. It still talks about one member of parliament to a constituency, which is what section 38 is saying in our constitution. But then when you go to section 60, you now talk about the list of the political party. I think the drafters of the bill and even our members of parliament should take their time to look at the document, because this is not something that you just pass into law. You ensure that the people fully understand what you are saying. So for me now, I see two scenarios. It appears as if we are staying with the first past the post, and it also looks like we are going proportional. So let us be definitive, because this is about the future of an entire nation. So many things are hanging on what we do as a nation in terms of the political system that we adopt. And if that is the case, ensure that there is clarity in every law that is made.
I mean, as we talk about, for example, accountability to the people, I mean, whoever the people elect at the end of the day should be they should be accountable to the very people. But the current 1991 Constitution, for example, if you go back to Parliament, it gives a different picture as to whether or not members of Parliament should be accountable to the people or their political parties. With 7K, for example, that speaks to, members of Parliament giving allegiance or putting the interests of their parties above the people who elect them every 5 years or every 4 years into Parliament. So, is that not? Would I be safe to say it's almost the same thing? Because it's
Mr. Bangura, you have a strong point there. But let me remind us as Sierra Leoneans that the 1991 Constitution is a sequel to the 1971 one-party Constitution. And a few changes were made, attempts were made to take power back to the people. But that has not happened completely. And we don't want a situation wherein instead of improving the situation, you are making it worse for the people. We can make it better when we sit to talk about the issues like we are discussing now. But I think we need a broader platform. Let it continue as a national debate where we can hear from the people their concerns and how we can ensure that we correct everything to make it possible that whatever we choose at the end of the day, it will serve in the best interest of everybody. This is about Sierra Leone.
All right. Let me bring in the National Publicity Secretary of the ruling Sierra Leone People's Party. The government is pushing proportional representation because it feels it's going to heal the political divide. It's going to reduce the political violence across, and it would include almost every political party into the governance system of the country. But many are now saying this is not what democracy calls for. Democracy calls for power belonging to the people, but this move is taking the power from the people and giving it to the political parties who are always up there, and they can only come when it's few months to elections. So what's the rationale behind all of these? Is are we safe to say, oh, Femi is saying, wait, this is just about the ruling party wanting to grab everything to itself?
Well, Femi should be happy that we're trying to reintroduce the proportional representation systems, because that gives our party the opportunity as well to be represented in parliament should she is able to score certain percentages of votes. That will give her the opportunity that she will not be left out. She will have all the voice to make the decision in the well of parliament. And when we talk of democracy, certainly we should not forget the fact that democracy in our context is representative democracy we're talking about here. Like Reverend was talking, it's not a situation where you have to engage all Sierra Leoneans. Yes, there are instances sometimes you go out and engage people in group discussions, but we're talking about the representative democracy, wherein you have members of parliament representing their constituencies, representing their districts, representing their people. And so in circumstances of this nature where they will be there and the bill is taken to Parliament to be discussed, and you do not have one political party in the House of Parliament, you also have paramount chiefs who are custodians of our customs and traditions in this country. They are going to look at that bill as we sit here discussing. I am certain the parliamentarians will be following the point of argument we're bringing forward. And the PR system is not a new system in our country. It's something we've practiced during our dark days in the history of this country, especially at a period when it would have been very difficult for us to have navigated through. But because it's a system that is inclusive, a system that actually minimizes violent confrontation, we were able to sail through in 1996 and also in 2002, when, of course, in 1996 we look at the national national list system, and also in 2002 we look at the district systems, and so that helped us to be able to have a very peaceful, successful electioneering process that was very inclusive, that takes care of the minority views as well. And it helps to also build coalition, and it helps to also strengthen national cohesion. And so if that had worked very well for us in 1996, during our dark days, and also in 2002, and we begin to experience violence, ethno-regional, tribal division in our body politics, and also which serves as a distraction to our democracy since 2004 and 2007, when we had the reintroduction of the winner-take-all system, which is the first-past-post or majoritarian voting kind of systems in which the winner takes all. With the PR systems, it minimizes wastage of votes, and also it minimizes violent conflicts. It's also very less expensive because it takes care of issues of by-elections. Wherein you have violent confrontation, where people who are not economically viable are disadvantaged. That's not the case in the PR system. With the PR system, once you have the first voters in an event where the individual chooses to resign, or the individual dies in office or is incapacitated, you do not have the time again to government do not have the time to put in resources, individual do not have the time to put in resources to go for another elections again. The second person on the list takes the stage, and that keeps us focused, and it keeps us unified, and it also gives views to various political parties. In the past, we've had a situation where we have intellectuals, experienced public sector workers of diverse background who had the opportunity also to enter our parliament and also made strong laws, and we had vibrant and effective parliament that actually were not only functional in lawmaking, but were also functional in their oversight responsibilities. And it also helped to keep the country in unity, and there was less violence in our body politics. And so if we are moving towards a trend where our body politics today is highly moving towards division, and which tribal sentiment is the order of the day, and the current first past, post, and majoritarian voting system is also not helping the situation. And whereas the PR system has worked very well for us, it is in our view that it's a very good system that offers better alternative to the current, to the extant system we are practicing, as it will help us to be unified. It will help minor political parties also to have stronger view in the House of Parliament, to be part of the decision making in this country, other than Madam Cole coming here to only make her voice known. Probably it's not also critically made in where it should be made to be part of the lawmaking process. If certainly we had that system, she would have gotten people to have represented our party in the House of Parliament. Probably most of the issues she comes on the radio to shout, she would have passed them through her own representative in the House, and they will have a stronger view because it gives the opportunity to coalesce.
So let me ask that question. You're now saying the smaller parties, for example, that do not have the numbers, at constituency level to have their representatives elected or their candidates elected to parliament, under the PR system, there will then be opportunity based on the percentage of the national vote or the district votes, depending on what we go with, whether it's we use the country as a block or the district block system for them to be represented. But also you're saying, if it gives them that opportunity to be represented in parliament, to have a voice and be included in the governance structure, that would be good. You're also saying it unites the country and it saves the nation billions that every now and then, the money that goes into by-elections, especially when there are vacancy, occurs. So all of these, are they timely? Looking at what we have, are the people educated enough to understand that these are the benefits, and have you engaged the players, the stakeholders, for them to have understood better?
Well, the PR system is not a new system to us in Sierra Leone, and this is a system that has existed with us. And even at a time when probably we were not knowledgeable in the implementation of the PR system in 1996, it was a system that was introduced to us, and it works well for us. So it's a matter of actually letting the people understand that this is a system we have practiced in 1996 and 2002, and we all saw how it works well for us. And we also shifted away from that and adopted the winner-take-all system, in which we have an opportunity where we waste votes, and it also gives room for violence, confrontation. It also gives room for ethnic and tribal divisions, and also gives rooms for where people attach to political party based on their ethno-regional sentiments. So in the situations where we are coming with a system that had worked well for us, that had an inclusiveness, and we are trying to reintroduce this bode well for an agenda that this government is pushing, where we are talking of national cohesion. And that is why it's a bill that has been taken to Parliament that also leverage those representatives of our people there to be able to discuss it in depth. And I'm very certain that this is something, as parliamentarians, I would want to indulge them to look from a nationalistic lens and look at how it helps, the advantages, the numerous advantages it has to help our country unified. Sierra Leone is just a very small country. Samuel, we have, it's a country where we practice intermarriages. We have cultural interplay in spite of our ethno-regional divisions, but we have a lot that we agree on. And so if we are moving towards a trend that is very negative, that is distracting us from our body politic, and it's also distracting us from the democracy we are supposed to enjoy, it is good and proper for us to go back to a system that has worked well for us, that has unified this country, and that pushed the development of this country forward.
All right, Femi, so I mean, Lima is putting some strong arguments forward that we know evidently every now and then elections, be it bi or national, they've always been marred with violence. And it's not been easy constituency where, of course, you are a victim of that political violence, constituency 110. So Lima is saying pushing this proportional representation mitigates and reduces that political violence within or across the country. And he's saying we would save a lot. The amount of money we spend as a nation conducting by-elections every now and then. Just this weekend, I think about 6 by-elections. And they will tell you billions have gone into the conduct of those by-elections. And it would save the country and put, those monies where needed in terms of development. So this is something you should be proud of and welcome, because even the UP would be represented in parliament depending on the percentage you get at the national level or the district level.
Okay, let us see how strong his argument really is. Let us dissect it and bisect it. First, what we have now, nobody is saying the systems that we have are perfect. The system of, let me give you a few things that happened at the time when we were using proportional representation, where Lima, they say, was perfect. Everything was beautiful. There were areas where the old election, during this PR now, where all the parties, they don't get a list. If you have maybe some more seasoned politicians than me, then can able give you dates and the specific locality where this happened. Who say a particular candidate, he don't work now in constituency or in district. He don't work. People in Sabi and they let him. When the election came, he pulled very high votes for in party. But when the list come out from in party office, would you believe say that man they were woke like jackass for letting win that area there? He never not been there at the list. So he didn't go to parliament. And there are many instances where people like can give you of that. So waiting Reverend in they say, let us look at the disadvantages. Is that the people no longer have a say in who the party they send to them. And in the talk say, people that will not get money go get a chance. Who are you kidding? The one that will get money, will get persona, their name go then at the top of the list. So your MP might be somebody, kind of you turn one day and to God say he come on a parliament, get for good day. Sabuna, una no sabian. And then he talks about parties, smaller parties, younger parties like us, having a chance. When you read the bill, there is a portion of proportional representation where they take 10 left out. They're not put on the That is the threshold. The threshold, very important. If they want left the threshold, if you say, like most countries now, the threshold not 2% or 5%. But you see, say that the bill, cleverly, they not talk the percentage. They want all the cow, they hold the rope. Then you are telling me that a party as my size will have representation in parliament. They are talking about a 30 to 35% threshold. That automatically eliminates all the smaller parties. Completely, you are gone. It will be again the two elephants fighting. And who again will suffer? The grass. So don't sell it to us. This thing, get one side effect. Drink no more. It make you feel well and strong. Then you not begin here again. Then you turn full. Tell us the disadvantages. And the only reason why they're not engaged with for let me sit down, let me talk, let me go to the people, call we all. Let us go as a team. Let me go sensitize the people then at the district. Me at the left always at the do at the falla then go. Let us go and tell the people the truth. Let us explain what you and they plan for do. Instead, you are in parliament between the speaker and the rest of them. They are cooking it up one pot. And then at the end of the day, they dish it out to the Sierra Leonean public. We say no. Those days are gone. You must collaborate and engage the public. Now, this we want pull. What do you say?
You know, the issue of the threshold, it's something we really have to look at.
Yes.
But Lima also advanced another argument that proportional representation encourages competent Sierra Leoneans to go into parliament, people that can articulate, that can espouse on policies, elucidate on those policies better for this country. Because as it is now, any junk seller, of course, you name for the junk seller, and you mingle with the people that you constituency, you popular. When it's election time, you say, oh, me I want to go to parliament. Then, because of your popularity, you will win and go parliament. And at the end of the day, you have nothing to offer in parliament just because you were popular enough amongst the people. They voted you in, and so you lack the competence, which you cannot match with your confidence in parliament.
And when you have proportional representation and you have the party choosing, even now, it has pleased His Excellency. It has pleased His Excellency. And there they go, and we see areas where they are not performing. So it is the same. It is the same soup. Whether the party selects, and at the end of the day, what is to stop? Say me now. A manage gets the percentage. And they look now, who they send go parliament? Corruption comes in.
Well, that probably you're not taking.
So you're looking, let us look, they say when you plan for the worst and you pray for the best. So don't tell us it is perfect. Don't swear I no more. It's good. There will then be the same two elephants fighting. And the grass, as they have been suffering since 1961, will continue to suffer. So let them not paint it as what it is not. And as Reverend is saying, we should put on our patriotic hat. The Sierra Leonean public deserve a break. They do deserve a break. What we should do more of is having them, but look at our state of our country. Look at the state of it. You understand? So your electorate is coming from a position of disadvantage, where one polo, 110,000 has clouded their judgment.
But that's what we're trying to prevent.
So what we're saying is a general, and you are talking of elections in 2002. That was how many years ago? 1990 something. We have people who are voting for the first time. And don't they deserve to know what you are doing? Or you are just going to cook it up and dish it out? No, that is not democracy. That is actually closing the democratic space. When we all sit together, we all engage. We look at proportional representation. We look at everything. We look at the threshold. With the tailor maker for winners alone, we know they cut and paste. Say, what in Brazil do, we add on. What in this country do, we add on. No, people's lives are depending on us. So it is up on the parliamentarians, the speaker. If the speaker won't pass himself, I will put it to him. Let him do by secret ballot. Let them vote by secret ballot if the speaker really intends. And now we have a situation where the APC now has majority in parliament. Are we going to see a speaker change? Maybe you can tell us.
All right, let me bring in Reverend. I mean, I think the bill is proposing a district block system. And if we're to go with that, and the issue of, Lima mentioned that smaller parties can benefit, can be represented, depending on the percentage. But Femi is saying even the threshold is not known. Is it going to be 45%? Is it going to be 2%? Is it going to be 15%? Evidently, if it's anything more than 5 or 10%, it's going to be between APC and SLPP again. Because we've seen how the voting pattern has always been in the previous elections now. No third force has gotten, more than that percentage. So how should it work? What model should we devise to ensure that if members of parliament decide today to enact that bill and say, okay, let's go with proportional representation, the district block system, what model should we devise?
Thank you so much again, Mr. Bangura. Very interesting question. You know, somebody said to me, not to, I cannot say it was recently, but the person said, we were discussing the issue of having a transitional law in our country to get things organized so that we don't see this change of power, things are happening that are not proper. The fellow said, no, Reverend, don't talk about that. APC and SLPP, they know what they do. And everything will be fine. So with Auntie Femi saying that it's still the game for the big boys, then it's worrying, because we are talking about inclusivity.
Right.
Make the space available for everybody. So now in proposing a model that will work, yes, a proportional representation, we've seen the positive aspect. And in fact, for most of the time at NCD, we've been asking for a move in that direction. But you don't just move in one direction without guide. So now, if at all costs, because at the end of the day, we can do the talking, but the members of parliament might have their own position on the matter, which again is unfortunate, because they should consult with the people to find out what they want. It's not just because you assume that this is what they want without checking their needs. But the point here is, let us put safeguards in the law. The threshold, the issue of primaries, even if the political party is developing a list, there must be a way, and it has to be legislated, not left to chance, so that the people can have a say ultimately, because democracy is about the people. And it's not just about a handful of people, it's about all of the people. I was writing on the issue of uniting the country. And I was dealing with the issue of political parties and how they operate. And I came up with an expression that I have termed entrenched elitism. Those guys who are up there in the top echelon of our political parties, most of the time they are the ones who would want to decide what happens. But in the context of our democracy, you are as good as your one vote. Yes, we need your expertise. We need everything. But at the same time, we also need the concerns of the ordinary man out there. So we must look for ways how we can inject safeguards into the law. So if members of parliament are paying attention to this program, at the end of the day, something is going to happen. It's possible they will pass this into law. But don't give the people a law that will, in a way, push the people to the corner. Give them a law that will ensure that they too have a say in what is happening. So if at all costs we have to go the way of proportional representation, let us still provide the safeguards in the law. You see, so many things are happening in our country because we've not legislated on them. We just talk about them. We want to see our country united. But up till now, we don't have a law that will tell the president, this is how you select or appoint your cabinet. We leave it to chance. The president can decide, well, this morning I wake up, it has pleased His Excellency, so and so person will go, this person will come in. Yes, by virtue of the fact that we voted him in, we've given that power. But at the same time, we must put safeguards in our laws to ensure we maintain the right balance. If you take the Nigerian Constitution, we're not saying their system is perfect, but in Section 14 of their 1999 Constitution, they have what is called the federal character principle. And it states that even in the government and any other agency of states, you are not going to have a situation wherein one group will dominate. Everybody is given an opportunity. So every demographic in Nigeria is considered when the president now decides, okay, I'm going to appoint so and so person to man this ministry, so and so person. So even if it's from within the context of the same party, there is a law that guides how the president will make that appointment. But in our case, no. The president has the right to hire and fire, and nobody will ask him any question. And in fact, by the way it operates now, it has no obligation to respond to anybody. Why did you remove this? Why did you appoint this?
When the Constitution gives him that power, nobody has the power to inquire into his dealings.
But then we are talking about how a democracy will work well to ensure there is inclusivity. You guide our leaders to ensure they do right to this country.
The question is, I mean, we talk, at the end of the day, the buck stops with Parliament. We've seen in the past that, in fact, even with the current, which is why many people always refer to the Parliament as rubber stamp, where you have whatever goes to Parliament that the executive is so keen about having comes out. I mean, the way the executive wants it. But this particular bill, for example, we've seen where even the chief whip, I mean, Honorable Dixon Rogers is saying, please, Mr. Speaker, give us time. Let us go to our constituents. Let us go and engage them and see. But you still have some of the most vocal members of Parliament who are saying, this is the way to go. Let's do it this way. And you have others in the opposition.
Mr. Bangura, it's not about anybody resisting or saying, no, it's not the way to go at all costs. No. I think if what the chief whip said is the correct thing. Give us time, let's consult.
Right.
So that we can bring in the necessary safeguards. So in the event that we go that way, nobody's going to be a loser. Now, recently, the American Supreme Court has overturned
Roe v. Wade,
a decision that was taken several years back, I think around 73. They've overturned that. And it was not in the best interest of the current president. In fact, he is against overturning that decision. But they spoke the will of the people, given the current circumstance. And whether it is the judiciary or the House of Parliament, that is what we expect to help our president succeed. There are times, yes, we desire to see certain things change. But the moment you have an opportunity for it to be opened up, for people to now tell you, yes, sir, what you said to us, we are considering it very strongly. But have you seen the other side of this, sir? Respectfully, this is a country belonging to all of us. We have given him the opportunity to lead us, to give us direction. We can also help him to move in that right direction by us being sincere with him to say, yes, sir, this is what you desire. But just give us time. Let's examine it from other perspectives or other lenses so that it can work very well. In the event that it becomes the law, nobody will see any gap because we have taken it through other lenses, even critical lenses. So that when the law eventually passes that test, being looked from other lenses, it becomes a law that everybody will embrace.
All right.
What we want to avoid in our country is to put in place laws that the people are not willing to comply with. Parliament can go ahead and say, I am doing this. But then you have resistance from the people out there in terms of implementing the law. So what we want to do to avoid that kind of situation, because we want to see a very peaceful Sierra Leone. So ensure that you take the law through every test that is possible so that when it comes into being as a law, everybody embraces it. Whether you belong to party A or party B, your persuasion is this or your persuasion is that. When there is consensus, my dear, it becomes easy to govern a nation.
All right, so let me bring you now, Lima. So the points you've put forward, I mean, as to the reasons why we should go with proportional representation and how it's best for us as a people, as a nation at this point. I mean, Femi is saying those points are, of course, we cannot even countenance them because literally they do not really address the issues, because you cannot just say, oh, it saves this, it saves that, it reduces costs, when at the end of the day, those that will be selected by the political parties to represent them in parliament will be those with fat purses and pockets. So it's like they will be buying the seats in parliament, which at the end of the day would still take people who are not competent enough to the House, but because they are economically powerful and stable, then they have their way.
Well, I don't know if Madam Femi has been around since 1996 to date. If she has been around, probably she has not been politically involved. If she has been politically involved, then she would be in a better position to understand exactly how the PR system works and how it is good for this country. The bill is a kind of proposal sent to Parliament, and that is why Parliament has to debate it to have a product that is best, that is good and in the best interest of this nation. And so it's not a document that is taken to Parliament that will come out hook, line, and sinker. So Parliament has to discuss it, look at all the issues, look at the clause, words, you understand? But they will do it at the committee room before they come to the well, before it becomes a document that is binding on us as a nation. And so when Femi says those things, I don't know, probably there's a kind of misunderstanding a bit on the representative democracy, which is really what we practice in this country from probably where people are looking at a general democracy where as it used to happen in the days in the olden days where you have people come and assemble and you make decisions. We are talking about representative democracy here. We have members of parliament, right, who knows exactly what is good for their people and what affects their people. I don't know for our own party, but for our own party, we have a system of electing leaders. We go to the primaries where the constituencies make decisions. We come to the district level, we evaluate them before it comes to the national secretariats. There are times when the constituency makes decision and we know those candidates cannot best represent the party and they cannot best represent the countries, and better decisions are made to send in candidates, because the work of a parliamentarian is to stand and advocate for a better laws, better policies for the nation. Certainly you don't want to send somebody who has got no business to do there. You have a lot of experienced people who have gotten a lot of experience in public sector life, and if you do not have a proper system wherein you can send those people right to the House or to the well of Parliament to make decisions for this country, at the end of the day, you will certainly have what we were talking about rubber stamp here. So we think that the PR system is something that has worked well for this country, and it will continue to work well for this country if only we decide to really adopt it. When have we started talking about this too much division, violence in our body politics? So since 2004, 2007, especially, Samuel, let's really state the facts here. Today, you say, let's go by this winners take all mentality. You go to Bombali, for instance, you have a lot of votes wasting there for SLPP. Go to Kenema, you have a lot of votes wasting there for APC. You understand? Whereas if you would have had a system of this nature, it cut across areas people consider to be stronghold of certain political parties, and also it does not limit political parties to intrude, to cut across in terms of their rallies and campaigns and to reach out to the people across the country. I would have no hesitation to go to Bombali, for instance, to campaign, because I know for certain that I will have representation, right, to represent me in parliament. So this is an effective system that helps to unify the country. It is an effective system that cut across, because if we have representative of the APC...
If I understand, forgive me, the inclusiveness you're talking about, for example, if you go to Kenema, a district considered to be the stronghold or one of the strongholds of the ruling SLPP, because the APC would definitely have some amount of percentage there, it guarantees
a representation of the
APC in that district.
In parliament.
So it means, you go to the strongholds of the APC, because the SLPP would get some huge percentage there, then the SLPP would be would have a representation from those districts, which means across the country it will be like that.
Everyone we cut across. The APC will not be scared to go to Kenema to campaign, for instance, whereas the SLPP will not be scared to go to Bombali to campaign, for instance. Talking about threshold, if we go back to the 1996-2002 model, of course, we have 5%, which is the threshold. And I'm not certain. I'm very certain if we have to really look at this as a very beneficial systems that we want to bring for the unity, the progress of this nation, we're going to veer away from the 5% that had worked well for this nation to bring in a percentage threshold that would disadvantage other smaller political parties. Then the intention is not nationalistic. So I'm very certain if we have to arrive at a decision, it's a decision that is best in the interest of this country, not in the interest of political party. No one political party is going to stay in power forever. So you make decision that is futuristic, that is in the best interest of the country. That when I'm not in governance tomorrow, that decision affects me positively. So I don't make decision when I'm not in power tomorrow and then I'm negatively affected. So that, in effect, you are not even supposed to be in leadership position. Because when you are in leadership position, you make decision for generations, not for your own moments where you are there. You make you make decisions so that tomorrow, when your succeeding generation comes after you, they are able to benefit from that decision. And that is why we have a collective body in the House of Parliament. Even in cabinet, for instance, like Reverend was talking, it appears as if we have the president. Yes, that's what the Constitution says, but the president has a body that advises him, which is the cabinet. The cabinet makes decisions, and that is why we have the three arms of government, into which the executive is not supreme to the others, right? You have checks and balances in our body, in our democratic systems. And in my university studies, when I did comparative politics, when we are doing comparative analysis, sometimes you look at systems that are at par. When I want to compare, for instance, the democracy of Sierra Leone, I want to look at Ghana, which practice unicameral legislations. And so if I want to discuss effective political governance for Sierra Leone, I go to Ghana, for instance. So for instance, like the example Reverend was making, you were talking of a federal systems that is probably not applicable in our context in the democracy we practice here. So I am saying, basically, as we sit here discussing, we're still engaging the public in a way. So my military ethics also taught me, sometimes, even though when people look at time, you have to do certain things concurrently, right? At the end of the day, you achieve a best possible outcome when you look at concurrent happenings. So as we sit here even discussing, we're engaging the public, because you know AYV is not only capturing the audience of Sierra Leone, but it also goes international. And we have Sierra Leoneans also in the diaspora as well.
As Femi talked about the issue of first-time voters, people who even do not understand what proportional representation is all about, do we have the time to really educate them that, hey, this is what proportional representation is all about, and we're going to use the district block system, and in the district block system, these are the things we look for, and this is the percentage a political party must have in this district to have a seat or to have, for example, I think if we go back to the previous PI system, the districts were I think divided into 8 seats. I stand to be corrected, 8 seats for. So how do we ensure that now, okay, this is what we've agreed on, and each district will say 8 seats. And so how do we share that into what percentage? Do we have the time to do all of that now? Or should we say, wait a minute, this is very good for Sierra Leone as a nation, but I think it's not, the time is not okay for its implementation.
I've taken bills to Parliament as well for debates. We've passed bills into laws. And when you take bills into Parliament, we have seasoned parliamentarians. They have time. That is why for every bill you take, you have a committee that is specialized in looking at that particular bill you bring. You have experienced people in Parliament. You have lawyers in Parliament as well. They discuss, and even the one who writes the bill as well is a lawyer, right? And so when that bill is taken, it's not just a document you're going to shove into the decisions of people. People have to subject it to debate. They look at it line by line, clause by clause, word by word. So at the end of the day, we're going to have a product that is best in the interest of this country. Right. So in the issue about also talking about educating the first-time voters, what we have started, I think the debate has started so far. And what we have started here, I'm starting a lot of people watching, a lot of people are listening. Political parties certainly will have to take it, whether it's once it is passed, whether after it is passed, before it is passed. Political parties will also have to educate their membership. For us as a party, we have a kind of systems wherein if there is a message coming from the top, it is cascaded right down to even the ward level. And also we keep talking about parliamentarians not meeting their people, but parliamentarians their role is predominantly lawmaking and also oversight responsibilities. That is why when you talk of development programs, you go to the ward coordinators, right? You go to also councillors. The councils are definitely in charge of engaging, interfacing with the people. And that is why whatever the concerns of the people are taken by those councillors, those ward coordinators to the MPs, right? And so the MPs are there to make better laws that affect the interests of the people and that affect also the best interests of the country.
All right, continue to stay with us, gentlemen and lady. Let's just quickly go to Parliament and join the Black TV Online as Abdullah Black puts together some reports around happenings in Parliament with regards to proportional representation in the bill.
Mr. Speaker, honorable members, I move that the bill entitled Public Elections Act 2022 be read the second time.
From where the Attorney General and Minister of Justice, Mohamed Lamin Tarawali, tabled the new Public Elections Bill at the well of Parliament this Bientem. MP them, especially from the main opposition APC and the ruling SLPP, don't divide sharp one for sake of this bill. The division, a clear say then at the area na this bill, make a chance for make recommendation for make the president bring back the district block system or proportional system of representation for elect MP them for going to Parliament instead of for make people vote for them as it only be for the past 15 to 16 years now in the country.
When you come to the PR system, out of research, 92 countries, including very established democracies all over the globe, are practicing the PR system. The district block system, I would say, has tremendous peaceful advantages, and it also has some huge economic advantages.
As you hear, MP them from the ruling SLPP bench na Parliament no see anything bad pan this bill. Most of the area they go make the president in consultation with the Electoral Commission of Salone ECSL decide for use the PR system for elect MP them. But the main opposition APC not even don't begin debate this bill na the well of Parliament. But it clear say they not want them and not ready for grief for them.
We get plenty thing that we not believe say good for Salone. But the first and perhaps the most important, when you kind of Parliament now for represent people under the PR system, you know they represent people, you know they represent your political party. Because also the people that they determine whether they can represent them, you know, the parties in the same list. And in modern day democracy, it's always good for the you be a representative of the people rather than your party. Your party will control you, and the people will not be where you represent. Not go able to get any voice and say they will just go vote for the political parties.
As you hear, the leader of opposition at the Salone Parliament, Honorable Cherno Ramadan Majuba, don't talk to Black TV Online this Bientem, but how in party not ready for support the section now this new public elections bill and being reason them as to why this not them position. But the deputy leader of government business at the Salone Parliament, Honorable Bashiru Siliki, inside one exclusive interview with Black TV Online, self don't show in party in support to this section of the public elections bill. As he say, the district block system of representation for MP them now already part of Salone law under section 38A of the Salone 1991 constitution, when an amendment with Parliament been due inside 2001.
This is not a new law. So I was surprised when the opposition say they will agree or they no will agree. This is not an existing law. Even if we expunge now this new bill where they bring it down, it still means the law there. Because as I sit here, this is the law. I will make it available to you. Now the amendment this way they've been doing in 2001. This is the law. I will make them. I will read out to you if you want. So we not get contention with either we for accept or not for accept. This law has been accepted long before we became at this Parliament, 2001. So I don't know inside the opposition they bring this one, say they will accept or not they accept. We can expunge ourselves inside the Public Elections Act. It still not means we will expunge from the Constitution. The law are the law, and the law, there's no way to circumvent the law.
The country use them for 2007 election, 2012 election, 2018 election, meaning arguments they say not two don't work well for the country in democracy, so like then don't push and corner. Bringing such law go like one for play with the people them right for elect una the MP them way now una close to them. What's you there for say about that?
Of course, in 2007 they bring the constituency elections. That not mean say this law don't be there. Now, two options of the law. You can either use the constituency elections or you use this law.
But although, according to Honorable Siliki, this na law we already did, the opposition no want to make government Adam as option for the 2023 election where they come. The leader of opposition still not think say because they don't pass this law for use inside 1996 and 2002 means say a good for the country in democracy.
Yes, in 1996 and in 2002 we do the PR systems, but we don't say we effect war. Not to all sides of the country be able for access. And because we want to make sure say we get civilian administrations moving away from the military form of governance, and that will make the people at that point in time they see sense and reason for me to go through the PR system. If it will succeed, the very people that we practice in 2002, we introduce them under the President Amatijan Kama administration, not be for see reason for go back to the constituencies. But because they've been also the best form of representation, they just use them in 2002 for make sure say people then get civilians that really represent them. And in 2007, after the war being done, they go back to the system where they believe say real democracy and real representation.
When we will come 2007, we then bring the constituency. The people then we don't get right for vote for them people then. But if you notice the turnover of this parliament from 2007 to 2018, extremely very huge. Again, then they know they bring cohesion because you notice from 2007 to 2018 today we talk, they able to determine we country by political parties. You notice almost all man from the southeast are SLPP and almost all man from the northwest are APC. And they clearly show we country divided by tribal lines and by political lines. Before this time, when we been get the district block, you did notice the APC they get seats like Kaila on the other side them. SLPP they get seats now the north. Then the SLPP they get seats now the west. Then they make sure when you see that kind of election, they did them period and they show national unity and national cohesion. But currently the country is so divided that as you cannot parliament, you look at the ruling party bench now, almost all men at the southeast then come out. You look at the opposition bench, almost all men at the northwest then come out. That's enough good for cohesion, enough good for national unity.
So the big question now plenty people in mots now. Wait to make the SLPP government think for bring back the PR system after where the country don't forget about them for the past 15 to 16 years now and not make use of them inside the past 3 elections them from 2007, 2012 and 2018. The deputy leader of government business, Honorable Bashiru Siliki again.
We don't just do census. We mean say we for do boundary delimitation because according to the census, the population don't shift from one point to another. We now realize some side will be more populated, migration don't take place, and with the boundaries will be delimited by population size. So if we not able to do boundary delimitation, forget the exact number of people for be represented here. The president in wisdom, I make them be 38A now because we cannot get the correct boundaries that it is. I have not said we not get it, but if we not able to get them, then we evoke 38A of the Constitution. So to me, the question about say it not will be good, or not good, the law not the law. If the law not been there, then you say once I condemn the law. But outside the law, then the law must be used.
The next question that you mind now, if the SLPP government succeed for bring back this district block system because of what Honorable Bashiru Siliki say, if the Electoral Commission of Salon ECSL not able to shape the country to new constituency them according to the new census results, outside this will left people them right for actually vote for them MP them where them want instead of for make party pick for them MP them. For Salon Parliament, I on Bla TV Online. Mina Abdullah Bla, the reports.
All right, many thanks to Abdullah Blah for that report. I know I have to come, but let me just run through a few messages quickly. Amara Alpha is saying, honestly, the issue of the PR system will be one of the best provisions in the Elections Act because it means inclusiveness in governance. 30% of women's representation in governance will be the best. The Act, and at the moment, women are crying for a 30% quota in governance, and the SLPP is the only political party that has provided more than a 30% quota for women in all sectors. And finally, the issue of two SIMs must come to an end now because it's very discriminating against our fellow Sierra Leoneans living out of Sierra Leone. All right. Ibrahim Jakema is saying the proportional representation district block system for its part greatly ameliorates the challenges that characterize the first past the post system. Since PR does not make provision for the delineation of districts into constituencies, valuable resources that would have been spent on such activity would be transferred to other needy sectors of the economy and help in critically consolidating the nation's poverty and reduction strategy. I am of the firm conviction that the PR system, more than the constituency system, is better equipped to lessen elections violence and intimidation, promote national cohesion, enhance quality representation, accelerates gender empowerment and inclusivity as a result of the fact that it is inherently inclusive. All right, Abdallah Ketu is saying, Paupa, why the rush for the PR system? We tried it in 1996 and 2002. It did not work. Allow the electorates to choose their representatives. Ambassador Fude, Sam and Sumana is saying, good evening, Samuel Wise. Please tell Femi that with the current system, our people are not properly represented. Tell me how many MPs do tour their constituencies to diagnose the imagined issues and desires of their people, not even a snippet. Proportional representation is not a recipe for puppet leaders or mediocres to be selected or chosen by political parties. Let us stop being political naysayers. Save our breath. Even with the economic recovery strives, armchair MPs are pushing the welfare bill. Is that as a result of proportional representation? All right, I'm going to take at most 5 more messages, guys, and then we can find a way forward. Yoki Musa is saying the midterm census does not consent to the 2023 elections. The 2015 population census determined by the 2023 election, so it is good to look into the increase or the commodity in price controls. I do not understand. Abdul Ekabo is saying Sierra Leone has not witnessed any electoral violence since we reverted to multi-party democracy. 2007, 2012, and 2018 were all conducted peacefully. Why are we now witnessing the highest rate of political violence since 2018? Ronald George Stone is saying there is nothing wrong with the PR system. However, there should have been a consultation and discussion with the electorates at least 2 years ago to fully engage a public discussion so as to truly give voters the advantages or disadvantages as to the first past the post. Then the electorates would have had enough time to grasp the process. However, on the eve of an election is somehow suspicious, in my opinion. I will not take messages from the same people again, please. I would have to skip. George Orwell is saying, Lima, this shows how the 1996 and 2002 elections, we had the war ravaging the country, and us, the citizens, asked for elections before peace. If you remember, whilst the junta were asked for peace before elections, so we resorted to voting before peace, which was a challenge then. So we ended up with the PR system for both 1996 and 2002. Dauda Tarawali is saying, wait to make them political party, not the land sense. Now, so APC pass, but Kuba bad lost them, we can catch up with them. Abubakar Rashid is saying, 2 more messages to go. The proportional representation system is not good for a democratic dispensation. Rather, it fits the socialist and authoritarian system. Okay, Justin, I would have read your message, but it's a little disrespectful, so I won't go through it. Lamindeke is saying violence during elections is being orchestrated by leaders. So leaders of political parties just need to be sincere and be courageous to accept defeat in elections. Hundreds of messages, unfortunately. I'm afraid, guys, I won't run through all of them. Mercy Semai saying your MPs actually want you to focus on the issue of proportional representation, which is not the actual problem. This bill gives the president more powers to control the electoral process, and it risks disenfranchising many voters. Stay vigilant and don't be fooled. All right? Okay, there are a lot of issues in this bill that we will take. So we are just using proportional representation for tonight's conversation. We have other provisions in the bill that we'll have to look going forward. You definitely have to trust AYV. We'll go through the bill. All right. We've watched what members of parliament from the ruling party and the opposition have to say with regards the bill. The opposition is saying this takes away power from the people, and in democracy, power belongs to the people, and that we practiced the proportional representation system in 1996 and 2002 was because we had challenges in reaching every constituency, because we were just coming from the war, and of course we were still in the war. So, and some of the messages I've gone through, the people are saying, oh, this is the best system. Others are saying, no, this kills democracy. So, I mean, if we are to provide alternative, or at this point, what is best for Sierra Leone and Sierra Leoneans if we are to go into the 2023, Femi, what path should we really take?
I think the path we take, we should tread with care, and we should tread with inclusivity. What I'm hearing from the SLPP is just what the people need to think or what the people say doesn't really matter. Let's just leave it to the MPs. Let's leave it to the MPs. I say no. Close to elections, this is a much anticipated elections. Let us not, I mean, that's the truth. It is highly anticipated. And there are those who are looking forward to having their opportunity to cast their vote. And I think leaving them out of the discourse, not giving them a chance to have a buy-in, is a huge mistake. We are taking the people for granted, and I think the people of Sierra Leone have really had it. I think it is on the onus is on the government, on whoever had this brilliant idea, is do what we did with the registration of the people. Take it back to when we did the sensitization for NACRA. They put all of us together. They were all the political party leaders, not the rank and file of the parties, the leaders, the secretary generals and the chairman. We all traveled the country, the length and breadth of Sierra Leone, sensitizing people, telling people what was involved, and having them buy in. And they did, they could get it. But what they're doing with this change, you're changing the electoral pattern. This is big, and you cannot be doing something that is so huge and not have the public have a say. I mean, you can give a president all the powers. He can have all the powers in the world. But those powers come with wisdom. Those powers come with inclusivity. Even if the president has the power to turn water into wine, he must still come back to the people and engage them. Now this we want to do. Let us go to the villages. Let us go to the chiefdoms. Let us go to the sections and teach the people. Let them vote. This is their civic responsibility. Now then get them vote. And how they're going to dispense with it or deliver it, they should have a say. Now you're changing the money, and you're going out there and you're telling people, say the couple they can't change. Talk less of their vote. It's bigger than the money.
Interestingly, somebody's just sent a message asking, good evening, Mr. Wise. With the introduction of the PR system, does it mean independent candidates will not have
They will not.
a say?
There will be no independent
That's not
candidates.
true, madam.
All right. Reverend, what path should we take right now?
Which party are they representing?
There are controversies, there are concerns, and we do not have a clear path. So How then do we decide, do we sit and devise that mechanism, that strategy that works well for Sierra Leone?
Exactly.
Mr. Bangura, truth be told, the decision of the current government is to ensure we have this law. But in the interest of democracy, we are saying, let us have the necessary safeguards injected into the law, so it will be in the best interest of everybody at the end of the day. But let me add this. You see, over the years, we have allowed a situation to exist and even persist. And we're not taking time to even look at it to say, let's begin to fix the problem from that perspective. Who are the people that are representing us? And what should qualify them to represent us? I think for me, looking at it from a democratic lens, that is so important. What should qualify them to represent us? So that even if we now transition from first past the post to proportional representation, we can still ensure that we have the right caliber of people to represent us. Yes, whilst the discussion was going on, I turned to 75D of the Constitution. And it says, subject to the provision of Section 76, and then any person who is able to speak and to read the English language with a degree of proficiency sufficient to enable him to take an active part in the positions of parliament shall be qualified for election as such a member of parliament. This one has given us, well, different calibers of MPs. As a nation, I think we should think seriously about the quality of representation that we want.
Does the PR system, does it offer an opportunity to have
So
competent people?
I am saying, because this law has still not changed.
Right.
Exactly.
Whether it's the first past the post or the PR, I am saying now that whether we retain what we have or we move into a new system, let us take note of what 75D is saying in our constitution.
So why I asked that question, I spoke with a very senior member of the government with regards to the PR system. And what he told me is that if you take a look at the current system, the first past the post, you have very good Sierra Leoneans, competent Sierra Leoneans, academically qualified Sierra Leoneans who would want to serve at that level, to go into parliament and contribute immensely to the development of the country. But because of the first past the post,
they fight,
they are afraid.
they want
exactly
to avoid that. But let us still have by legislation what should qualify us beyond just speaking the Queen's language. To enter the House of Parliament. Take constitutions, even the sub-region. Let us don't go beyond the sub-region for now.
In fact, that was the defense our members of parliament put up when the fake degrees come up. But hey, we do not have that qualification.
So you see, we want to avoid that kind of situation. Representation, Mr. Bangura, is not something to toy with.
Right.
We should be looking at the finest brains to make our laws.
Yes.
And you don't leave such issues to chance. For me, that's my emphasis. Let us make laws that will let you see. When you apply for any other job in this country, they give you the job description, your qualification, what is required for this particular job. Why is it that a job as important as representing the people of this country, we treat it with levity and say no? As long as you can speak the Queen's language. It's even a good thing that we gave to the law the age. Otherwise, any small boy who speaks English can go to parliament and represent the people. And you know what would have been the consequence of that. So we want to look at that issue as being very, very important. So regardless of which system we now choose to adopt, because you see, when we look at the way governance is in Sierra Leone, it's like what obtains in most homes. As long as it is the wish of the father that is what will be carried out. But now we are saying, yes, Daddy, by virtue of your position in the home, we expect your view. But ensure that when you give those laws, let there be safeguards to protect the mother and the kids in the house or other relatives who come in. So that at the end of the day, even you, when you would have taken away that movement that led to probably the passion to pass the law, you sit and you are now relaxed and you begin to see the other aspect of the law that you've passed. You feel fulfilled and satisfied to say, okay, it was not just for me, it was for the entire household.
So the common belief, for example, as you talk about qualification, I mean, trying to ensure that we have the finest brains in Parliament or the finest personalities. The common philosophy has been Parliament is not a house of technocrats.
No,
so let's have people.
And that is where the problem is. Mr. Bangua, how can we be making laws for a nation and we say anybody can go in? You see, I think we must treat with every seriousness issues that are serious. Over time, we've seen laws that are passed and you ask yourself, what is the essence of this law? Was somebody actually thinking when they decided that they should give us this kind of law? Or was it to just satisfy certain needs? But no, we must get beyond that point now and say everything that we do must be in the best interest of this nation. And that best interest might not even serve the best interest of your own party.
Right.
Because there are other people. What is a cup of tea for you might not be their own cup of tea. But then when you maintain a balance and you don't just look at it from one lens, you try and test several other lenses, then you can have a law that will best serve in the interest of everybody, even you. The Honorable Minister just said something, that when you pass a law, it's not just for when you are seated there. Even when you have left, you've gone, that law should protect you. And referencing one of the text messages, the texter said, our politicians don't learn. And I agree with that. And I'm appealing to our politicians. Let's learn from the mistakes of our predecessors. So many things are happening today that some of them are saying, if I had done this or if we had done this, the situation would have been different. And we don't want the cycle to get to one point and we have people expressing the same regret. Let us think in the interest of this country.
All right.
For far too long, it has been this party or that party serving their own best interests. Let us now say to each other, regardless of what the situation is, even if it means to be unpopular with my own people, I will serve in the best interest of this country.
All right. Let's hear from Lima as to what really should be done at this point with all of the controversies.
Well, Samuel, it was only during the PR that we have people like Mr. Z. Emmanuel Grant serving as MP for the SLPP. We have the likes of, what was the name, Dr. Alpha Wuri. We have quite a good number of representation from the northwestern area, as well as the APC do had representation from the south and east during the PR system. And you would also know that it was during the PR system that we had the former president very active during his days in Parliament when President Kaba, with no reservation, was giving him responsibility. This is the inclusiveness we are talking. And so it is, in our opinion, that the PR system is good for this country. It bolsters trust, it bolsters confidence, that because this man is in APC, I would have no hesitation to put him in charge of certain responsibilities, because I know for certain that he will do it in the best interest of the country. But the manner in which we are moving, the kind of ethnic, tribal sentiment, regional division that we are moving towards, in which this current past the post is not addressing, it is but proper in the best interest of this country that we adopt the PR system, like Reverend mentioned, with certain safeguards that will still protect our democracy and that still bequeaths power in the hands of the people with certain safeguards. But at the end of the day, it helps to unify our country. It helps us to have confidence in one another in spite of our political grouping or our individual standings. But at the end of the day, all of us see Sierra Leone as the bigger picture.
Would the PR system, would it really, would it get rid of the political violence? I mean, a texter was saying, what is responsible for the political violence across is the fact that we are not equitably distributing state resources. So we can still practice the PR system, but in areas we still feel, I mean, whether it's APC in power, feel like this area is not, I mean, my zone, my area, would have to concentrate development in the area, or the SLPP feeling that this is not my zone, this is not my area. But it's, I mean, with even the PR system, does it in any way get rid of political violence?
This is exactly what the PR system takes care of. For instance, we're talking about distribution, equitable distribution of national wealth. Samuel, you would agree with me that in our current system, you have certain constituencies that are actually sending representative with less number of voters voting in candidates. When you go to certain areas, they have a greater number of people also voting candidates. And distribution of national wealth is contingent on the number of population you have in your areas, in your locality. And so it is in my view that with the proportional representation system, first of all, you will not even have vote wasting. Say, for instance, you can have somebody pulling a vote of 50,000 and somebody pulling a vote of 40,000, but that individual getting 40,000 will not be represented. So all of that vote will be wasted. Whereas the 50,000, for instance, goes to Parliament. And at the end of the day, 40,000 people are unrepresented. So it is in my view that where you have somebody actually scoring 40% of votes, as well I'm getting seats in Parliament, somebody scoring 50% of votes will also getting 50%, getting seats in Parliament. In other words, they are represented. So whatever distribution of wealth that is going, you also consider that 40% of voters, because they will have somebody who advocates in their interest, somebody who will talk on their behalf. So it is in my view that yes, the PR system, that somebody coming from the security sector or somebody talking from a security background, this will help a lot. You see someone like, I listened to the MPs who are saying that this system was adopted during the war because we were unable to access other areas. It suffices it to say that this is the best system that also even manage crisis. Right? If it's not a best crisis management systems, we would not have adopted it during the 1996-2002 when we were still in crisis moment. But then it was a system that was adopted and it was well participatory, right? As at that time, I could remember still as a young man, as a young boy coming up. But I realized how much people were involved in, how much it was participatory and how much it cut across as well. Wherein when you go to Parliament, you see divergent people in Parliament, people of diverse background in Parliament, interacting, and up to this date, they still maintain that camaraderie, they maintain that bond, as opposed to now where you see too much of tribal political division in our Parliament. And so it is my view that with the reintroduction of this PR system with safeguards, like Reverend mentioned, it will help our national cohesion, it will help the development of this country, it will minimize violence, and at the same time, it will also even enhance this 30% women's quota we're talking about in Parliament. So it will help a lot to advance in our democracy.
Right, Femi, what will be your parting shot?
It won't be one shot. First, I want to just assure him that 1996, I was very much in Sierra Leone. I came home in 1995. Because there's always this undertone, like I wasn't here, I don't know. And secondly, what happened in the PR system then? Speak to politicians that are way more senior than the both of us, and they will tell you that there were political parties where then complain, then don't work for the party, where 10 reach, then them not then at the list. And then we look at what causes the violence. You have very many reasons. One, they came into power. There was one party who had the majority. The party will get 40,000 votes, then pull out a parliament, give the party will get 4,000 votes. Those are recipes for the violence that we see today. We see them coming political party comes into power, they do mass sackings of people, all those things. And then we see hiring that are tilted in favor of the ruling party. If we want to stop the violence, the tribal, ethnic violence, the PR is not the Band-Aid that you will put on the wound. That's a plaster for a rotten foot. It needs to be excised properly. So the PR system, them selling it this way, if it is so awesome and wonderful, let us take it to the people. Why are we afraid?
You are still addressing the people.
Let the people, let us make a plan. We like how they did for the decentralization policy. With the decentralization policy, they had put in that same law that they wanted the councillors to have a minimum of 3 WASC, whereas the MPs needed to only read and write in English. And we took those things to the people, and they were shocked. They didn't even know what it comprised of. They were going to pass that law without interacting with the public. This is bigger than that. It is bigger than the decentralization. It is bigger than the currency we're changing. This is their franchise, the people's franchise. I think the responsibility for a responsible government is to go back to the drawing board, have everybody engage, political parties, CSOs, students, everybody. Go around the country like we did with the registration and let people take a bite. Let us educate our voting public. Let us educate our new voters that this is what we want to do and this is the way it's going to be done, and are you buying into it?
All right. Reverend, what will be your final shot?
Again, it's to appeal to every Sierra Leonean that for far too long as a nation we've been struggling with too many things. But one way that I know that we fix some of the problems in any country is through the route of the law. When we have good laws, even though lawyers will tell you that there are no bad laws, because people actually debated them and voted for them. But you know by how people respond to issues. My point is, let us ensure we give to the people of this country laws that will stand the test of time. You always want to do your work using the lens of posterity. There are people who are going to curse our memory if things don't go right. And there are people who are going to praise our memory if things go right. So let us take care of that and ensure we give the people what is in the best interest of this country. Before I end this, we call it the last word. I know it's a debate for another day. The aspect of the 30% quota.
Please.
That for me is a positive aspect of the new election law. Now we are being serious to treat those concerns that have been raised. We are now putting it in black and white. It's the same thing that we must do for the other issues.
Right.
And by the way, I just came back from Nairobi on a training on the Maputo Protocol because I'm putting a report together on that. We must not neglect that constituency, our women and girls. Take note of nations that have made progress. These are nations that have taken time to fully understand the needs of their women and their girls. And so they are flying up there. But take the other nations who have not treated with that same seriousness the needs of the women and girls. You will notice that those nations are actually trailing. They are lagging.
Okay.
And we now want to go beyond just the rhetorics. We've signed Maputo, the SDGs, Beijing Declaration. These are all things that should have positioned our women and girls on a platform that they should not be complaining by now.
Okay.
But we know there are concerns, and I am now say close to those concerns because I'm researching the issues and writing a report
Okay.
on women's issues and girls.
All right.
as a nation, we've started moving in that direction that shows that we want to treat the situation seriously. Right. But let's go beyond that. The electoral law is one, but let's don't forget the gender equality and women's empowerment bill before Parliament.
We'll have to discuss all of that.
Definitely.
We'll have to discuss.
Let's see what we can do.
What will be your parting shots?
Well, I want to say, in spite of whatever doubts we have, the PR system will eliminate violence in our body politics, and also it will eliminate the ethnic, ethno-regional division that exists in our body politics, and also it will enhance our democracy. And it's a fine system that we should go in for with safeguards that will still guarantee powers in the hands of our people.
Many thanks indeed to you, Lahai Lawrence Lima, National Publicity Secretary of the ruling Sierra Leone People's Party, Reverend Jibril Akabu, Director of Communications, National Commission for Democracy, Femi Claudius Cole, 2018 presidential candidate and acting chair of the Consortium of Progressive Political Parties. Many thanks for your time. It's indeed a pleasure. I have enjoyed the privilege of your time, gentlemen and lady. We apologize for the Honorable Sir Emerson Lamina, parliamentary leader of the Coalition for Change Party, for not showing up. He is actually struggling with his health at the moment, so we wish him speedy recovery. But to all of you who've watched, listened, and followed us on Facebook, many thanks for your contribution. Those of you whose messages we did not read, we apologize. Time is never our best friend, but you would understand. Continue to stay with us. In case you miss part of this edition or a whole, please tune in again on Thursday at 10 p.m. to catch a repeat. But a fresh edition comes up next week, same time, same station. The show has been AYV on Sunday. My name is Samuel Wise Bangura, and I will then take you to the Housemate Salon Season 3 Prime Edition, where some housemates will have to leave the house tonight. Take care of yourself and stay tuned.